Hello friends. In today's video, I want to talk about me getting off of antidepressants. It's a real big one. I'm sitting here cutting tomatoes from my garden and freezing them, and I just figured, it would be a good time to just chat. And I'm not an expert on this subject. I'm not a doctor. I'm not anything important or really worth listening to. But I will say that I have experienced being on antidepressants and then coming off of antidepressants / anti-anxiety medicine. And I kind of had an interesting experience with it, and I just wanted to talk about it. And I think the main reason why I want to talk about it and talk about how I got off of the anti-anxiety medicine is I just feel like it's so not common. It's not common to ever get off of it. I think a lot of people start anti-anxiety or antidepressants because they want to feel better for a season, and they think it's just going to be this short-term thing. And I don't think anyone really ever wants to get on them, but I think a lot of times once we get started on it, we develop this fear of ever getting off of it. And I think that there are some situations where long-term use of antidepressants can be needed. I don't think that's not like a hill I'm going to die on. I'm not going to say like no one should be on antidepressants or anti-anxiety medicine, and if you do, then it's the worst thing ever. Like, I'm not going to die on that hill, because honestly, it was helpful for me for a season, and I'm not going to deny that either. I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, it did nothing. It was only bad. It was only horrible. And I really regret the whole thing, because that's just not what my experience was. And as of right now, this is what my opinion is, and that might be something that changes over the years. But as of right now, like, it wasn't a bad experience for, it wasn't all bad being on anti-anxiety medicine. And I'll tell you, the specific one that I was on was fluoxetine, which I think is Prozac. It's Prozac. So I don't know. I started it because at the time of my life, I was at a very, very dark, very depressed season of my life. I was really tied up in drinking a lot, and I was partying a lot, and in really toxic relationships. And I've talked about that on my channel before, but I've never really talked about this side of things before. And I'll link the video that talks about me quitting drinking and me just deciding to completely change my life and completely improve my life, and stop just wallowing in my own crap and get up and be somebody. And that process was not easy, but at the time, kind of my approach was, I need all hands on deck. Anything that I can do to potentially get myself out of this mess, I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try. I'm going to do whatever I can. So that meant diving into my relationship with Christ. That was first and foremost the thing that I think ultimately changed me, ultimately saved me, was having a spiritual approach and seeing it through a spiritual lens. But then I think that there was other factors that helped too. I really simplified my entire life. I got rid of so much stuff. I got rid of all the extra in my life, whether that was extra social events, extra clothes, extra stuff, just stuff that didn't actually get me towards the life that I wanted. And that was another thing I started doing, was I just started dreaming about, okay, if I could pick any life and create that life, what would I want that life to look like? Who do I want to be? What do I want my life to feel like? And how do I get there? And so I just started dreaming, and I started really praying through, okay, what do you want my life to look like, God? And but you know, all that being said, like that, I really took all angles, but one of the angles that I did take was I went and talked to my doctor, and of course, you know, the first thing that was suggested was being on an antidepressant. So I was like, you know what, it's worth a try. I am going to try whatever, and if it helps, then great. And if it doesn't, then, you know, I don't have to keep doing it. And, you know, the idea was always just to do a couple months. That's always kind of what they present first, is let's just do 3 to 6 months and see if we can't get you out of the slump, and see if we can, you know, improve your life enough to kind of regulate things and then get back to normal life without it. So I'm like, okay, I will do that. And so I did, and it did help. I'm not gonna lie, I think it really did help. And who knows, you know, what came first, the chicken or the egg? If it was that helped, if it was the other things that helped, I honestly don't know. But I think it did help. So I started taking this medicine, and 3 months goes by, 6 months goes by, and it just never seemed like the right time. And I did kind of develop this fear of getting off of it. I was afraid that if I was off of it, then the symptoms were going to come back, then I was going to start feeling bad again, then I was going to be right back where I started. And I really started to cling on to, this is the only thing that can help. This is the only thing that has got me out of the slump. If I stop, then I'm stuck back where I was. And it seemed like every time I went and talked to my doctor about it, it kind of seemed like, you know, the medical world kind of discouraged me of getting off of it. It seemed like, I don't know, it just seemed like the perspective was, if it's working, then don't change it and stay on it. Because, you know, if you get off of it, what if you do go back? I don't know, it just seemed like the original agreement was to do a short amount of time, and then when I would talk about it, it seemed like I was kind of being pressured to stay on it and to have this just be a life thing for me. And so I did. And honestly, years went by. I think I was on it for two full years. And then suddenly this last year, I felt convicted. And I want to speak honestly about this part. And I don't want it to come across as, if you're on antidepressants or Prozac or anti-anxiety or whatever you're on, then you should feel convicted. I'm not saying that, because I don't know your life, I don't know your situation, I don't know your brain. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying, I'm speaking for myself here, saying that I really felt like God put it on my heart to trust Him in this, to take a leap of faith and to lean on Him more than medicine and more than this thing, because I didn't need it before. I didn't have to have it for 27 years of my life. Why is it something that all of a sudden now I feel like I have to have? And I really just started to see all the areas of my life where it felt like I was being numbed, and it felt like I was being silenced in a way. And I don't know, I just felt like, even at the time, it was when I first met my husband, and the feelings of, falling in love and the anxiety that goes with that. But even the feelings of falling in love and passion and attraction, like it just felt like all of that was kind of numbed a little bit and dulled down. And I just felt like maybe I was missing out on something, and maybe I could take this leap. And so I did. I worked my way off of the medicine, and it wasn't easy. It was not easy. I did have symptoms with it, not necessarily anxiety. Honestly, 100% honesty, I don't actually feel like it changed my anxiety really at all coming off of it. I was honestly really shocked because it did not feel like it changed my anxiety. I think if anything, maybe I was a little bit more chill. I think sometimes the medicine kind of like hyped me up a little bit and gave me like more energy. But I think if anything, like I was more chill. And yeah, it honestly did not affect my anxiety level really much at all. And it made me realize, like, okay, like even when I was on this medicine, I still had some anxiety, and I still was dealing with the same things, and I'm still human, and I still have fears, and I still have insecurities, and those things still come up, and it's not solving that for me anymore, at least. So I went off of it, and I was able to see that my anxiety level wasn't really that different. The things that I was bummed out about wasn't really that different at all. But I did have some symptoms, and I know a lot of people have stronger symptoms than this, but I think the biggest one for me was I just had like really bad like nerve pain all over my body. Like I felt like I had a fever. It felt like I just had these aches and feverish pains all on my body and body aches, and it went on for months, and it was really bad. And it made me really realize, like, what is this stuff doing to my body to where it affects me this much for this long? And honestly, like, it wasn't just a immediate success. I ended up going back on the medicine because I just didn't want to deal with it. Like, I didn't want to deal with the pain and with the body aches and with this like weird like fibromyalgia kind of feeling. So I went back on for I think like a month or so, and immediately that pain went away. The fibromyalgia kind of pain, the body aches, the physical pain went away. And so it was good for me to see, okay, this body ache kind of pain is directly related to this medicine that I'm taking, to this Prozac. And I don't know, it was an eye-opener for me. It was an eye-opener for me to see, okay, this thing is really affecting my body. It really is changing something in my body. And do I want this to be something that influences my body this much? Like, I'm trying to live this holistic lifestyle. I'm trying to lean towards natural things. I'm trying to really work on full and complete healing in my body, and this really feels like it's working opposite of that. And so about a month goes by, and then I decide, okay, let's try this again. I really still feel convicted. I feel like I'm meant to get off of this stuff. Let's do it again. And I just prayed like crazy, like, God, please just let that pain not be there, and let it not affect me the same way that it did. Okay, sorry, I had to relocate myself. I think I was saying that I got off the medicine and ended up going back on, and then the second time when I decided, like, no, I really want to be done with this. I want this to not be a part of my life. I think it's affecting me negatively. I do think that there is I don't know if social contagion is the correct term, but I do think that there is like a trend in, if we have discomfort, then that means there has to be a pill to fix it. And I think that like true mental health and true like psychosis, you know, I think that there are definitely more extreme mental health situations where medicine can be really helpful, and I'm not speaking against that at all, but I am speaking for myself and probably other people that are kind of caught up in this world of, if you are uncomfortable in any way, then there has to be a pill to fix it. And that's the thing that I feel like I've been convicted on. And so when I decided to go off of it the second time, I honestly just did a lot of praying and a lot of hoping that I wouldn't have the same kind of symptoms coming off of the medicine. And honestly, the second time coming off of it was much milder. I don't really know why. I don't know if it is just because, you know, God is a God that answers prayers, or if my body just had less of it in its system. I don't know. I'm not sure, but the second time coming off of it was much milder, and I didn't really have as much of the body ache kind of pain. And now it's been months and months, and I haven't been on Prozac. I haven't been on any kind of artificial or synthetic mood boosting medication of any kind. And it's felt like a victory to me. It's felt like freedom, and there has been a lot of positives, especially within marriage. My feelings of joy and all of the good feelings and of attraction and like all of those things are a lot more vibrant and a lot more intense, and it's felt really good to be able to feel like I'm living more fully and more balanced and not numbing anything and not being stuck on, this is my only option and I have to continue to take this medicine. And I just feel like this subject isn't really talked about at all. I feel like there's a lot of people that either feel ashamed or, you know, embarrassed of being on antidepressants or anti-anxiety medication. And if they do come off of it, they just don't want to talk about it. They want to be done and move forward. And so I just don't want people to feel like once you get on anti-anxiety medication, that's what you have to be on forever. because when you start taking that medicine, when you talk with your doctor, they always say, like, this is something we're going to try for a season. We're going to try for 3 to 6 months and then go from there and see if we can just do it for a short amount of time. But then I feel like when that time comes, it's kind of brushed under the rug. It's almost discouraged to get off of it. And not every doctor is the same, but it just doesn't seem like it's really all that encouraged to get off of the medicine. And maybe it's because there is shame in being on it anyways. I don't know. But I want this to be a video where if you have been on medication, it might just be worth trying. It might just be worth seeing how it feels to get off of it and see how you do. And I feel like I'm living proof of I was able to get off of it and feel like I'm thriving, feel like I have joy, and feel like I have a balanced anxiety, depression balance in my life. Like, I still have days where I get bummed out. I still have days where I get anxious. I still have fears and insecurities, and I still struggle. But I think that that's kind of part of the human condition. I think that that's part of being a human being, and that's just real life. And I think that there's a time and a place for SSRIs, but I just don't think it has to be forever. And I don't think that it has to be something that you feel stuck in. And I don't think that it's always the cure. I don't think that it always helps as much as we think it does, or it helps for a couple months and then kind of fades off, and then there's a lot of negative that comes from it. I do think that there are a lot of negatives that come from SSRIs, and there are certain situations where the positive of the SSRI can outweigh the negative, but I don't think that that's the majority of the situations, and I don't think that that is everyone. So I don't know. When I looked up videos about people getting off of their SSRIs and their experience, there was hardly any. And so I just hope that this is a video that can be a source of encouragement to people, and I don't know, make people feel less alone in that journey, and that there's no perfect way of doing it, and it's not going to look the same as me as it is for you, or you compared to someone else, and that's okay. And I think it's something that you got to pray through, and you got to figure out what's best for you and your health and your life. But I do feel like my story with SSRIs and feeling really free after I got off of them, I think that that's a story worth telling. So I hope that this was an encouragement and not something that makes anyone feel guilty or feel pressured in any way. But yeah, I just hope that this is an encouragement. Okay. Bye, friends. I'll see you in my next video.